Wait, what? A certain individual claimed to have had Anna Walshe in their possession and were asking for ransom? You must follow the law. The law says...
Glorious. Is it a lawsuit? Probably. Why not?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up. It's the law, folks. Today we are going to do something that has been talked about, and his jury trial is coming up in about 5 or 6 weeks. His name is Brian Walshe. What did Brian allegedly do? The case is in Massachusetts, and some of you know that the same key players that we saw in the Karen Reed case and also in the hearing when Lally took the witness stand in the King case. If you've not seen those two videos, they are both on my channel covering that hearing, which is still outstanding. They never finished it. It was supposed to be done, I think, around August the 5th, and here we are in the end of August, and still we have absolutely nothing. So I guess that remains to be seen what's going to happen. But Brian Walshe allegedly killed his wife. This is a no-body murder type of case. Anna Walshe was 39 at the time of her disappearance. She was last seen at her home after a New Year's Eve dinner with a friend and her husband, Brian. Now, Brian claimed that she left early in the morning to go to Washington for a work trip. But there is no evidence of that. Her cards were not used, like her credit cards. There was no evidence of her traveling. There's no ticket in her name. There's no evidence that she was flying anywhere that day. And to add insult to injury, nobody saw her at the airport either. There's no evidence that she ever came to the airport. By January 4th, both Brian and Anna's employer report her missing. Although her body was never found, she was declared presumed dead 2 weeks later on January 18th, 2023. What I find interesting about that is that for the most part, the law requires 7 years traditionally. In a traditional sense, the law requires 7 years before someone is declared legally dead. I don't think you can presume someone legally dead. They can be presumed dead, but they cannot be legally declared deceased for legal purposes. That is an appendix from common law. Now, what is Brian Walshe accused of doing? He's accused of beating and killing his wife, Anna, dismembering her, and dumping her into various dumpsters where her body was later incinerated. Or her remains, I should say. Horrible story. Horrible, horrible story. And prosecutors are also saying that Brian actively and purposefully misled them about Anna's whereabouts in order to cover it up. He's facing charges of first-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and improper disposition of a human body. Now, there are 4 key pieces of evidence that are pointing the finger at Brian Walshe as the perpetrator. And here they are. Number 1, on various devices, Brian has searched words like how long before a body starts to smell and dismemberment and the best way to dispose of a body. Is hacksaw the best tool to dismember? I mean, if this one is not a dead giveaway, I don't know what is. How to dispose of a 115-pound female body. And last but not least, can you be charged with murder without a body? So those searches are definitely very, very damning for Brian Walshe. Like I said, this is no Karen Reed case. In their basement, Anna and Brian's basement, this is number 2 now, they found certain pieces of evidence such as a bloody knife and bloodstains. And the knife was damaged, by the way. Number 3, there is surveillance footage showing Brian Walshe disposing of some very, very heavy trash bags. I mean, I swear, guys, I'm a criminal defense attorney and I do this for a living, and even this is making me cringe, just so you know. And last but not least, number 4, he made a $450 purchase of a hacksaw, cleaning supplies, and other items that were bought at Home Depot on January 2nd, 2023. So you be the judge, right? The evidence is very damning against Brian. But now we're going to get to hear from some of our favorite players, namely Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, Trooper Fanning is going to make an appearance, Trooper Keefe, and even our good old favorite Guarino. Guarino is back, baby. The lies are going to continue piling up. Now, again, if Brian Walshe gets off because of all of this stuff that happened in the Karen Reed case and we can't trust these players, I mean, that's going to be a little depressing because I honestly think, based on a preliminary cursory review of the evidence, which is about as far as I have come with this case, I know the details, I know who testified, I know what it's about, and I'm sharing that with you all today. But like I said, this is no walk in the park. This is no Karen Reed. This is not an innocent man, trying to prove his innocence because he is being wrongfully prosecuted. The evidence is pretty heavy against you, buddy. There is a lot of stuff here, and it does not bode well for you. But you may get lucky, and I don't think you will, but we've got the same players, and that's why this case is interesting, and it has captured the hearts and minds of many Americans who have been following the Karen Reed case. It was the natural next case to gravitate towards, and we're going to cover that. In the meantime, just want to make a quick note. Donna Adelson is in full swing. Jury selection started on Tuesday, August 19th. That was earlier this week for those of you who are watching this video as it premieres. If you're watching in the future, hello, past Larry, how are you doing? Future Larry, I hope you're doing well too. And future you, I hope you're having a wonderful day. The hearing originally occurred in May of this year, right in the middle of the Karen Reed trial, right as we were listening to witnesses, and we're about a month away from verdict at the time. And the actual hearing itself and the pieces of it were posted sometime in early July, right after the long holiday weekend. So let's get into it, folks. We start with Lieutenant Fanning.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant John Fanning, Fanning.
And Lieutenant, where do you work?
I work for the Massachusetts State Police, assigned to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
How long have you been with the Massachusetts State Police?
20 years next month.
And how long have you been assigned to the District Attorney's Office?
13 years.
How long have you been a lieutenant?
Since December of 21.
Lieutenant, I'd like to ask you some questions concerning January 6th of 2023. That day, what was your involvement into the investigation to the disappearance of Anna Walshe?
I had responded to
And I do apologize, I just realized I mispronounced her name. It's not Anna, it's Anna Walshe.
Command post in Cohasset behind the Stop and Shop off of Route 3A.
At some point that day, did you leave to retrieve any digital devices?
I did.
Where were you going to get those devices?
The Walsh resident at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway.
And how did you know that you were able to go to that location to get those devices?
I initially had spoke to Sergeant Buchanan, and then I spoke with Attorney Tracy Minor.
When did you speak to Attorney Minor, if you remember?
It would have been just before I left to go there. I'd say sometime in the 4 p.m. hour.
How did you contact Attorney Minor?
By phone.
Can you tell us about the conversation you had with Attorney Minor?
Yes. I introduced myself. I hadn't met her previously, so made a brief introduction. Told her that I had spoken to Sergeant Buchanan, that he was out of pocket because he was preparing for a trip to Washington, D.C., and that I'd be handling communications while he was gone. It was a cordial conversation. She was very cooperative. I explained that she had had a previous conversation with Sergeant Buchanan and a email communication with First Assistant Lynn Beeland. I said, I'd like to go get those devices as soon as possible. She agreed. She said that Brian was home and that I could head over there. We also had a brief discussion about why the timeline of the Walsh oldest child, that he had stated that Anna had touched the device and fixed it for him. That was really important to us because we were trying to hone in on surveillance.
And so what did you tell Attorney Minor about that device? Is that what you said to her?
Yes, we had a conversation about the importance of narrowing down our search timeline for vehicles potentially coming to and from that residence.
Why did you want to go get those right now, as you just said?
Well, we were trying to find Anna Walsh. It was important that we got those devices. It was my understanding from other investigators that Anna used different devices. That was according to Brian, that Anna had utilized multiple devices. Brian had stated to investigators in previous interviews that Anna would use his phone from time to time. She had used it for Uber and Lyft. And then, obviously, the oldest Walsh's device was important because of this account from the oldest Walsh about Anna fixing his iPad prior to her leaving.
You have this conversation with Attorney Minor. About how long do you think the conversation was?
5 or so minutes.
And after the conversation, where did you go?
I went to the Walsh residence.
When you arrived at the Walsh residence, who was there?
Brian Walsh.
Was anyone else home at the time?
Not that I remember. I didn't see anyone else.
What happened when you got to the Walsh residence? Can you just tell us what's your interaction with Mr. Walsh when you got there?
Yes, I pulled in, went up to the front door, knocked. I was encountered by Mr. Walsh. I introduced myself. I had not met him previously. He invited me in. I stepped off to the left, which would have been in the kitchen area, dining area, just to my immediate left. I said, I just spoke with Attorney Minor. Did you know that I was coming? He said, yes. I said, I'm here to retrieve these devices.
And what was his demeanor like when you were speaking with him that night on January 6th?
Very cooperative, cordial, helpful.
And so you said that you were there. What devices did you think you were going there to retrieve?
His cell phone and his son's iPad mini.
And so you told him that did you tell him what devices you were looking for when you arrived?
Yes.
And so what happened after you told him about the devices you were looking for?
He went off to my left, past the kitchen, into kind of a living room area. There's also a desk in that area, and very quickly came back with the iPad mini that he said was his oldest son's.
And did he produce anything else besides the iPad mini at this point in time?
He gave me his cell phone.
After you got those two devices, what happens?
He then said that he wanted to go find another device that his kids access. I said, okay. He thought it would be helpful. At that time, he went to my right, which was into kind of an open, I don't know what I've described, open room where the dog cage kennel was, and there was a flight of steps that went up to another room. He went out of view that way, and shortly thereafter returned with another iPad with a cracked screen.
And did he say anything when he gave you the second iPad?
He just said, my kids use this. It might be helpful to you.
What did you say after he gave you the second iPad?
We had just confirmed the passwords. He had told me the password to his cell phone, and he confirmed the passwords on the two other devices, as the kids predominantly use those, and I wrote them down.
And so after you received the passwords, what happened as far as your conversation with Mr. Walsh?
I told him we're going to try to return them as soon as possible. I appreciate him cooperating, and I left the residence.
And so once you left the residence, where did you immediately go to?
My vehicle.
And when you got into your vehicle, what did you do with any of the devices?
I put the two iPads on my passenger seat. I had Brian Walsh's phone in my hand. I checked the password that he gave me to unlock it. It would be normal for me in most situations to put the device into airplane mode to preserve data. In this case, I don't recall putting it into airplane mode because if Anna had tried to reach out, the device wouldn't work. I also went into the text app just to see the last communication with Anna Walsh, the time, which really is just like a timestamp. It could say today, yesterday, or it would go back in time with dates. Then I relocked the phone knowing that I had the correct password and put it back on top of the two iPads.
And once you did that, where did you go?
I went back to the command post.
And so when you got to the command post,
and by the way, that iPad is where they found at least one of the searches, the infamous Jennifer McCabe style, I guess we can call it that now. The infamous Jennifer McCabe style search, how long to die in the cold, how long until a body begins to have an odor. Disturbing.
And what did you do as far as handling it? Who did you give these devices?
Using his son's iPad for that to avoid detection. That's just a level of psychopathy I cannot fathom.
Trooper Connor Keefe.
Why'd you give them to Trooper Connor Keefe?
Trooper Keefe is one of our forensics examiners. So he was there waiting, and I was arranging for him to take them back to our Canton office for download.
Do you have an idea of when you gave these to Trooper Keefe?
It was immediately following coming back from the Walsh residence.
Did you give Trooper Keefe any commands at this point in time as far as what to do with these devices?
I gave him the three devices, kind of stacked up on top of one another with a piece of paper with the passwords, and I told him, you have consent to download and analyze the data of the phone from December 25th until the present.
Did you give him anything else besides those three devices and the piece of paper with the passwords?
No.
And on January 6th, did you have any further conversations with Attorney Minor?
I do not recall any conversations with her on the 6th.
So, do you know when those devices were returned to Mr. Walsh?
The afternoon, approximately 1:30 on January 7th. Later
that afternoon, were any of the troopers assigned to your detective unit dispatched to the area of Swampscott?
We're talking January 7th.
January 7th, yes.
Yes, they were.
Okay. And to be clear, we're talking about Saturday, January 7th. Who was dispatched to that area of Swampscott?
At approximately 4 p.m., I dispatched Trooper Kokowski, Sergeant Panazelis, Trooper Gobranson, and Trooper Sullivan.
Where did you send Trooper Kokowski?
CVS in Swampscott.
Why did you send him to CVS in Swampscott?
Because Brian Walsh had told Trooper DeChico and Detective Schmidt that he had went there when he visited his mother.
And where did you send the other three troopers, Gobranson, Sullivan, and Pantazelis?
Whole Foods in Swampscott.
Why did you send them to Whole Foods in Swampscott?
Because the defendant said that he had went there when he went up to his mother's residence.
And so why are you sending troopers to these locations that the defendant said he was at?
To confirm if he went there.
And so that was done, those troopers were dispatched on Saturday, January 7th at approximately what time?
Between 4 and 5 p.m.
And that time frame, when was it that you heard back from Trooper Kukowski about the CVS in Swampscott?
I'd say somewhere in the 6 to 7 p.m. range. I can't recall the exact time.
And what was it Trooper Kukowski able to confirm as far as the defendant entering the CVS in Swampscott?
He was not there.
And was Trooper Kukowski dispatched to another CVS at this point in time?
Yes.
Which one?
I don't recall exactly. That wasn't at my direction. That was something he did on his own, which would be normal for our investigators.
And did you receive knowledge from Trooper Kukowski if he had discovered the defendant on video of another CVS to confirm his timeline?
Yes, and he did not see Brian Walshe at the other CVS.
Now, going to Whole Foods, who was sent to Whole Foods?
Sergeant Panazelis and troopers.
So they're going to all of these locations, these CVS's, these Whole Foods, because Brian is saying, hey, I was there at this time. I was doing this at this time. And they're trying to verify. They're trying to confirm. So what day did you go? Oh, I went on Tuesday, blah, 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 January, whatever. And at such and such time. So they go, which one? They go to the one, or they go to the other, or they check them all just to be safe, make sure they're not missing anything, because they obviously don't want to make Brian look like a liar unless he truly is lying, in which case they'll have to check all of them. So if he says, oh, I don't remember, I went to a CVS, blah, 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 whatever. So they're going to go to all of them, and they're going to get the surveillance from all of them, and it looks like they were trying to verify his alibi or whatever they're trying to verify, and they could not find him on video. So that's what they're talking about.
Sullivan and Branson.
What were they able to discover as far as confirming the defendant's location at Whole Foods as he relayed to Trooper DeChico?
He did not go there either.
And about what time were they at Whole Foods to discover this?
Somewhere after 5 p.m. on the 7th.
Now,
and by the way, let me just say that, but for the Karen Reed case, I don't think anybody would really care about this case. It's the corruption of the Massachusetts State Police that is bringing us here to pay attention to this case, number one. And number two, a lot of them are the same players. They are the same names that we have heard in the Karen Reed case, like Buchanan, like I said, Fanning that we're doing right now. Buchanan will do next. These are the same players that we saw in the Karen Reed case. It's the same people. So that's why people are watching this, people are interested in this, and that's why we're covering it.
When were you ever notified about the contents of the devices that were given to Trooper Keefe on the 6th?
Around 6 p.m. on the 7th.
And who notified you as far as the contents of any of the devices?
Trooper Nick Guarino.
And who was Trooper Guarino in your detectives unit?
He's also a forensics examiner.
And how did he notify you?
Oh, and for the record, I don't know if I clarified this. This is the direct examination by the prosecutor, and next we're going to have the cross-examination by the defense attorney of Fanning.
And what did he say when he called you?
He said, I found something in the search history, and that's interesting. I said, well, what was it? And it was numerous searches about dismembering a body, how to embalm a body, how to get rid of a body, numerous searches related to that, another search related to divorce.
And so, after he notified you of that,
a better option than murder.
Did he communicate to you and other troopers what he had found?
Yes.
How so?
He sent an email.
And as far as analyzing the iPad Mini, what was your understanding as further analyzation of the iPad Mini at this point in time?
We were going to stop.
And what was going to be done as far as the iPad Mini after stopping? This is the data we're talking about.
Yes, we had stopped, and we were going to obtain a search warrant to seize that device.
So, to seize that device. Now, where did you believe the device was located on the evening of January 7th?
It was back at the home.
And so, what was done as far as trying to obtain a search warrant for the home?
And remember, you hear the word search warrants, you might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't Lally just testify about... No. Don't conflate the cases. I can already see your eyes getting wider, your pupils dilating. You're like, wait a second, isn't that the hearing that Larry covered with the Adam Lally? That was King. That was Massachusetts versus King. That was a different case. There are also search warrants involved in this case. Totally different cases. Okay? Just for the record. I know we're doing them back to back, and we're going to be doing a lot more stuff that may not be directly related to one another. But like the next few videos, more than likely, are going to be this. And then also, don't forget, Adelson is on my radar, so I'm going to be covering that very, very shortly. As soon as jury selection concludes and they've seated a jury and opening statements begin, it's game on, baby.
We started writing one on the evening of January 7th.
And was one obtained?
Yes.
When was that search warrant executed?
Between 8 and 9 a.m. on January 8th.
Now, were you there when it was executed?
I was.
So when the search warrant was executed, who was home at the Walshe residence?
Brian Walshe, his mother Diane, the 3 children, and their dog.
And after the search warrant was initially served, did you have any further conversations with Attorney Minor?
I did. Once we secured the scene, I called Attorney Minor and notified her that we were executing a search warrant at the Walshe residence. She told me that she was headed there and she'd be there shortly.
And how long after that did it take for her to arrive?
I'd say 15 minutes or so.
And once she arrived, what happened did you have any further contact with Attorney Minor?
We spoke in the driveway. I handed her a copy of the search warrant, and I told her we're searching the residence. Do you have a place for the Walshe family to go? Which she replied she did. And we arranged for her and the Walshes to leave to go to Attorney Minor's house in Situate.
Now, after that interaction with Attorney Minor, did you have any further interaction on Sunday, January 8th with Attorney Minor?
I did.
When was that?
When we went to arrest Brian Walshe.
And where was that?
At her residence.
And what was the contact you had with Attorney Minor at this point in time?
She met us right out front. She actually came out before we got to the door. And I asked where Brian was. She said in the house. I said we need to go talk to Brian right now. And she said, well, he's not going to say anything. I said, that's fine, but we need to find him right away. We walked right in. Dining room was right off to the left. Brian Walshe was standing there, and we placed him under arrest.
Understanding you had the opportunity to have your communications with Trooper Guarino on the evening of Saturday, January 7th. Had you not had the conversations for Trooper Guarino on Saturday, January 7th, what would the State Police Detective Unit been doing to obtain a search warrant for the residence of Mr. Walshe that evening?
Had I not had that conversation with Trooper Guarino?
Yes.
At that point, the information came all at the same time, I would say, but the issue that we were having is regardless of the search history, we were still misled by Brian Walshe. In the information that he gave us, we spent time and resources going up to confirm his information. I think had we not known that information of the searches, we still would have written a search warrant for the house, less physiological fluid and instruments of the crime.
What information did you have as far as ransom emails at this point in time?
We had received an email, it was on the morning of the 7th, meaning we, Cohasset Police, from a Richard Walker, requesting a ransom, and that stating basically that he had Anna Walshe and was requesting a certain amount of money for her to be returned.
Wait, what? A certain individual claimed to have had Anna Walshe in their possession and were asking for ransom? Sounds made up. Sounds like Brian Walshe fabricating a kidnapping in order to cover his own tracks, because obviously a person doesn't just disappear. So he thought it would be a good idea to fake her kidnapping? Okay.
And where was the last place Anna Walshe had been seen
No, he's calling her
prior to her disappearance?
I guess it is
to your
him.
knowledge on the evening of January 7th.
Inside the home on January 1st.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
Yes.
Maybe the
Nothing
prosecutor
further,
was
Your Honor.
wrong.
Have you reviewed the transcript?
And now this is the defense attorney. Now we're starting with cross. The rest of the video, I think, is going to be cross. There may be a very, very brief redirect just at the very end.
Interviews of Mr. Walsh conducted by...
I would say not directly the transcripts, but I have some understanding of them, sir.
So when you testified here just moments ago that Mr. Walsh, Brian Walsh, told one or more of those people that Anna Walsh had used his phone to contact Lyft or Uber. You remember saying that?
Yes. Yes.
Where is that? Where is that in the interviews that I just described of Mr. Walsh?
I do believe I read it. I could be wrong for sure, but I do believe I read it. But I feel like that at least some type of communication was given to me at that time.
Well, was it a but you're not suggesting it was a communication given to you by Mr. Brian Walsh. You're saying a communication by one of your colleagues or someone. You're not sure.
Correct. And it could have been one of the child's devices. I'm not sure how he testified previously, if I specifically just said Brian's phone. But that is what I remember.
And when you testify that based on your conclusion or opinion that Mr. Walsh had misled people with regards to where he was, you're relying on what another trooper reported to you based on his review of what?
Video surveillance and also items that he stated he purchased they had asked about.
And have you looked at those, whatever you're referring to, the videos of, say, CVS and Whole Foods?
No.
And did you, before you relied on that information, did you talk to anybody at CVS or Whole Foods to discuss how their cameras are situated, what they view, what they don't view? Did you conduct anything like that?
Not personally, no.
These are good questions.
And you are aware of the fact, aren't you, Lieutenant, that when Mr. Walsh was being asked questions about where he went and where he had been on certain days, that he was being asked those questions at his home, and there was distractions going on during those interviews. You're aware of that, correct?
I'm not I wasn't there.
Okay. Are you aware of the fact that on the recordings you could hear a dog barking repeatedly?
I didn't hear the recordings, but that would make sense.
And are you aware of the fact that Mr. Walsh specifically told the troopers when he was being... I'm sorry, strike that. Are you aware of the fact that when he was being asked questions on January 4th, he was actually talking and telling them that he was tired and hadn't had sleep, and words to that effect?
No.
It's an interesting argument, but now I'm thinking, why have you been having trouble sleeping? Is it because your wife is missing? That would make sense, right? Your wife is MIA. You're going to be worried. You're going to lose sleep over it. So I guess that's a good cover. Or if you had something to do with her disappearance, oh, by God, you're going to be losing sleep as well. So it's a 50-50.
And in your experience as a state trooper investigating crimes, it's fair to say, isn't it, that when someone is being asked questions about a missing spouse, let's say, the mother of their children, they can be under some stress, correct?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Now, you also told us that you were the one that went out and retrieved devices on...
And the reason, by the way, his defense attorney is bringing all of this out about his state of mind and all that, it dilutes his answers to the questions. What do I mean by that? So if he's being asked, where were you on January 2nd at 5 p.m.? Oh, I went to the CVS to buy some items. Okay, which CVS? I don't remember. What did you get? This, and that. Do you have a receipt? No. Okay, we're going to go check it out. They go to the CVS, they pull the surveillance. He's not there. Now, that whole statement is diluted by the fact that there's a dog barking during the interview when these questions are being asked. He says he is tired, he hasn't slept very much, his spouse is missing, he's worried about her. Now his answers are not so much a lie and deception, they may simply be a lack of cognitive function or hindered cognitive function. So that's what the defense attorney is doing, and I think it's working. I see where he's going with this, so far at least.
January 6th of 2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
And back in January 6th of 2023, you didn't write in a report about that, did you?
I did not.
And then you told us on direct examination today that you remember having a conversation with Attorney Tracy Minor on January 6th, correct?
Yes,
And you didn't write a report about that.
correct.
And what you've done in the last week or so is you've written reports regarding those interactions, correct?
Yes, sir.
And one of the reports that you just wrote a couple of weeks ago, if not a week ago, you dated that the report date is January 6th of 2023, correct?
Yes, when it happened?
No. The title of your report is Interview 2023-112-4-116, report date 01/06/2023.
Correct.
When you enter those dates on these Massachusetts State Police reports in that particular space, that is supposed to indicate the date the report was written. Isn't it?
It is. I think it's a bit confusing. Sometimes it's the date I'm writing the report. Sometimes it's a newer system that we just had switched over to in the last few years. Sometimes it's the day I write it. Sometimes it's the date of the actual report.
Well, in fact,
But I usually reflect it in my first sentence, the actual time of the event.
like I just said, you've written no less than 3 reports in the last week or so, reciting what you testified against.
Yes,
And in 2 of the reports, you put report date, May 7th, 2025, right?
right.
And in the other report, you put the date of May 15th, 2025.
Correct.
So whether the system changed over the years, the fact is the system has been the same since you started drafting these reports years later about what you recall happened and didn't happen back on January 6th, correct?
Yes,
And one of the things you just told us that when you went to the house on January 6th, that at some point Mr. Walshe went up and got another iPad, a second iPad, correct?
yes,
And you told us today on direct examination that he said something to the effect of, my son uses this, maybe it'll be helpful, correct?
yes.
In the report that you just wrote in the last week or so, you didn't include anything of such a statement, did you?
I'm not sure.
Then I'm just going to show you your report that just ask you questions about. It has a date on it as January 6th. In fact, you want the first page too?
No, this is good, sir. Got it.
That's the report where you talk about going to the house and Mr. Walsh retrieving a second iPad, correct?
Yes,
And nowhere in that report does it say anything about him telling you, my son used this, or words to that effect, or maybe it'll be helpful.
correct.
And it is fair to say, isn't it, that when you went over to the house to pick up the devices, you had been told that you were to pick up 2 devices, correct?
Yes,
1 cell phone and 1 iPad.
yes,
And that was pursuant to the agreement that was reached between Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beelan and Attorney Tracy Minor, correct?
about 2 devices.
Yes.
I was told to get 2 devices. I'm not sure if the agreement, as I had read it, specifically
know.
stated 2 devices.
He may not know because normally, prosecutors make the determination, they get a judge's signature or a police officer can do it. Any law enforcement official with that kind of power, like a prosecutor, a detective, trooper, they have the power to go to a judge and say, Judge, we need this stuff. And the judge will ask, what's your probable cause for it? Well, the woman disappeared and we suspect there may be some evidence of her disappearance in these devices. And of course, any judge in the universe will go, okay, sounds good to me. And they're going to sign off on it, So prosecutors can't just willy-nilly sign off on search warrants. It has to be signed by a judge. But who starts the process? Who brings it to a judge? Prosecutor, police officer.
When you say that agreement, what are you referring to specifically? A written agreement?
The email
Okay.
between Attorney Minor and Attorney Veland.
So as you sit here today, you don't even have a recollection of whether that email, which is referred to as the agreement, only references Brian Walsh's cell phone and the iPad belonging to the 6-year-old.
As I remember, correct. As I remember it, we talked about what data was going to be extracted and what time frame.
No, but I'm asking you specifically about the devices you had been told to go pick up. You were told to go pick up one cell phone and one iPad.
That was my communication, yes.
And you got that communication from Sergeant Buchanan.
Sergeant Buchanan, yes, sir.
You didn't talk to Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beeland, did you? Regarding the agreement and what you were to pick up.
I do not recall specifically, but she was at the command post that night. I just don't recall a specific conversation with her about it.
And when you talked to Attorney Tracy Minor on January 6th, before you retrieved the items, you didn't talk to her about picking up extra items or anything of the sort. You just were talking about one cell phone and one iPad.
Correct.
And it's fair to say, isn't it, that the state of the knowledge of the investigation that you possessed on January 7th of 2023, you had no information whatsoever that the iPad that was purportedly belonging to the 6-year-old had been used in any way to go from one location to another or anything like that, correct?
What?
Just give me a second. I'm trying to process the question here.
Yeah, what was that question? That was a horrible question. I was with him until the very end of that question. I think what he's trying to ask is, you were not aware at the time that you confiscated the iPad. You knew that it was being used by the 6-year-old, but you had absolutely no idea that it was used for any type of nefarious purposes with the searches that you later found. I think that's where he's going. That's where I thought he was going, and then he just took a nosedive off a freaking cliff. And I'm like, wait, I'm with the detective here. I'm like, wait, what did you just ask me? This is the one time that Fanning and I are in the same boat. I promise you. Probably the only time in both of our careers.
On January 7th, can you ask it again, sir? I'm sorry.
Restate the question.
Even the judge is like,
I can't follow it.
I can't follow.
Sorry
Even
about
the judge is like, I can't follow this. I'm sorry. I've never watched this before, so this is all completely blind. This is all fresh for me.
I think evidentiary value to me. So
Yeah.
why don't we just try that again?
Try again.
I'm glad you, Judge. I don't think I can follow.
Even he realized.
My question.
Okay, here we go.
Is it based on what you had learned thus far up to January 7th?
Yes.
You had no knowledge that the iPad that you went to pick up
Yes.
on January 6th had been, in fact, used
Yes.
by Anna Walsh. Had you?
Oh, Anna Walsh?
Are we talking about the iPad mini or the cracked iPad?
The iPad?
Well, we did have information from the oldest Walsh that she had manipulated that device.
Right, but you didn't have any other information other than, quote, the manipulation of the device.
What time are we talking, in the morning of January 7th? Previous to Trooper Gardner calling me?
Let's start there. Yes. Yes.
No, I did not. No.
Okay, so you had no knowledge that Anna Walsh had used that iPad. I thought he was going in a completely different direction. I do apologize. Maybe he got scared, maybe he decided to change gears, but I'm confused. I thought the whole purpose would be, at least if you're going to be arguing about the lack of probable cause in the affidavit that supported the search warrant to confiscate the iPads or the electronic devices, if that specific iPad was not listed, but it was confiscated, that would be a problem for the government unless they had knowledge of beforehand that it could have been used in the commission of a crime, namely, conducting searches about how to dispose of a body, yada, yada, yada. So I thought that's where he's going, but he's kind of like, at the very last minute, he just takes a really sharp right turn. I don't know if you're feeling like me right now, but that's what I'm feeling. So unless I'm missing something, let's keep watching. Let's see if he rehabilitates himself, the defense attorney.
And you certainly didn't have any reason to believe that an iPad belonging to a 6-year-old would contain so-called location data or search history or anything like that.
There it is. There it is.
Location data, yes, it could include location data. There was no thought in my mind about search history at that time.
And you say it could have had location data in it, but you didn't have any specific information about any specific location data that might be in a 6-year-old child's iPad, did you?
Yeah, there it is.
No.
Yeah.
You didn't have any information
There it is.
conveyed to you by anyone about another iPad described as a cracked iPad that you retrieved on January 6th also, correct?
Correct.
In fact, when you went there, you weren't even expecting to pick up an iPad, a second iPad, were you?
Correct.
And that would be one way for a defense attorney, in case you're wondering, like, why is this important? You're making such a big deal out of it, Larry. That would be a motion to suppress anything that has been found on the iPad if the government had no lawful right to confiscate it. Now, they're also going to run into the issue of consent, because if Brian just goes, here you go, trooper, have fun, enjoy, look through it, I don't mind, blah, 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 whatever, that eliminates 100% of all arguments, pretty much, for the most part. I mean, there's still some very, 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 very narrow exceptions, but for the most part, consent eviscerates the need for probable cause. Remember that. That's why you never consent to anything, ever. Police are not your friend. Remember that.
It's fair to say, isn't it, that the Mass State Police utilizes body cams when they conduct searches, correct?
Yes.
You did so in this case, didn't you?
Correct. So we use them until we secure the home, and then we usually deactivate them.
And were you wearing a body cam on January 6th when you went to the house to pick
Let me
up the
guess,
items?
no?
No.
Called it.
And you are familiar with Massachusetts State Police consent to search forms, correct?
Yes.
And you didn't use one or try to use one or attempt to fill one out before you took the items, the devices, for Mr. Walsh that day on January 6th, did you?
No, we were working together cooperatively to find Anna Walsh, and I was happy that we were working together.
No, but I understand your answer, but you didn't use a consent to search form.
There was already an agreement, so I think it wouldn't have made sense after just talking to Attorney Minor, talking to Sergeant Buchanan, an agreement in writing to then show up with a consent form. I think Attorney Minor would have had a problem with that.
Well, you think that, but my question is simple. You used those consent to search forms. You did not use one in this case.
That's correct.
Okay.
And those consent to search forms, without belaboring the point, they're used to make sure that what you do, when it's looked at later on, that there's evidence that there was, in fact, a voluntary consent, and that whatever parameters of any search that was going to be conducted would be followed, and that the person giving consent understood that.
Yes.
Okay. Now that takes a turn, because think about it. See, the example I just gave you, the consent, the here you go, there was no evidence of it. So even if Brian actually did that, they have to prove that they got his consent. And if there's no body cam, there's no form, Brian Walsh can later turn around and say, I never agreed. You barged into my house and you took my stuff. Even though that probably never happened, but now the government is on the defensive, not Brian. You see what I'm saying? So when the government screws up, this is criminal defense work. You're watching it live on my YouTube channel. This is how we do criminal defense work. You question everything. The government has the burden. we don't have a burden. Unless you're raising an affirmative defense of like insanity or self-defense, then yes, the burden does shift, and now you have to prove that at the time of the incident or in general your client is mentally incapacitated to commit the crime, or they were acting in self-defense. Now the burden is on you. Now you have to prove either by preponderance of the evidence, usually actually I don't think there's a single defense that is beyond a reasonable doubt that I can think of. Beyond a reasonable doubt is always on the government. So preponderance of the evidence, sometimes by clear and convincing evidence you have to prove some defenses, but for the most part it's by preponderance of the evidence. And yeah, the burden basically kind of shifts back to the government to prove that when they obtained the iPad from the 6-year-old, it was done either consensually or using a search warrant. And even if it was done using a search warrant, the consent form, all it took was to sign a consent form. It doesn't matter what Trooper Fanning thought in his head. Oh, minor is not going to like that. ADA minor is not going to like that. Nobody cares about coulda, shoulda, woulda, or what you think or what you thought or what you liked or what you didn't like. Rules must be followed, especially when you're investigating a murder. And these guys are so incompetent. It's just despicable.
That's all I have. Thank you, Judge.
Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And redirect by the prosecutor.
Lieutenant, you were asked a question
Very
about one
briefly.
of the police reports concerning whether or not you had mentioned that the son might have used the iPad in the police report.
Yes.
Do you have a memory of that paragraph where you mentioned that you were asked about as far as the son using the iPad?
Guys are confusing me. I'm sorry. Do I have a,
We're right there with you.
do I have a memory of the paragraph? Is the one I just read?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what you mentioned as far as the son using the iPad in that report? Would the report help you out?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you the report, which has a number of 2003-112-4/116. I want you to take a look at the third paragraph, specifically the second sentence.
Got it.
All right. Lieutenant, did you write in the report whether or not the son used the iPad?
I did.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
I think needed to be corrected because the defense attorney did raise the issue that you never mentioned in your report that the 6-year-old had been using the iPad. Turns out he was wrong. It is in the report. And that is why, as a defense attorney, you always meticulously prepare before these types of hearings. So maybe he missed it. Maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he forgot about it. I'm not going to deduct too many points of the defense attorney. He did a decent job, except that one question at the end where he's like, I'm with you. And then he's like, it took a dive off a cliff. I'm like, okay, buddy. I think it is such a strong question. I think he was a little hesitant to kind of finish it. That's why he decided to kind of avoid it and milk it, which was completely unnecessary. And it made him look unprepared and foolish, and it just didn't make any sense at all. But whatever. It is what it is. So that is it for Brian Walshe, Lieutenant Fanning's testimony. We are going to continue this gravy train with Officer Lawrence. It's a little different. There's no A in there. It's an O. So it's like Lawrence with an O. Lawrence. Officer Lawrence is up next, and followed by Buchanan, Guarino, and Keefe, all names that we are familiar with. We've seen them all in the Karen Reed case, as well as Fanning. So Lawrence is the only one that I don't think we've ever heard, except in the Brian Walshe case. That's going to be coming up tomorrow. And Adelson is on the horizon, so buckle up, buttercups, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.